Hi, it's Zeke with the Eastside Church of Christ in Baytown, Texas. Excuse me. No, I don't like masks. I don't like them in a store. I don't like them in a restaurant. I don't like them at church, and I especially don't like them when I'm preaching. Kind of sound like Sam I am, right? I don't like them on my face. I don't like them anyplace. Well, we can talk about masks a lot, and people are. We can talk about their effectiveness, especially the cloth masks. We can talk about how far they actually go in preventing the spread of this coronavirus that is just taken over our mindset in our country. And I've got my opinions about all those things. In fact, just ask me sometime and I'll tell you. You may or may not like what I've got to say about it, just as I may or may not like what you've got to say about it. But those debates are raging all over the place. I want to talk about something else, though. Even though I hate masks, I'll wear one. I'll wear one for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I'll wear one because where I live, it's the law. 1 Peter 2, verses 13 through 15 say, "Be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme or to governors as sent by him to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people." Now, we can argue all day long about what Peter might consider being evil in this context. But I'd rather take a look at the very end of this. This is the will of God, that by doing good, you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people. Doing good is obeying the law. Now, it may not be where you live, but it is where I live, in the county where I live. There is a mandate that masks ought to be worn in public places, in stores and in restaurants and places like that. And unless the law puts me at serious odds with the law of God, I'm going to do what civil law says. Just like I obey speed limits and I use my blinker when I make right or left turns, I do what the law says because that's what the scripture tells me Christians ought to do. And so I'll do it. But there's more to it than simply the law. There's also the conscience of my brother or sister. Romans 14, verse 13 says, "Let us not pass judgment on one another any longer, but rather decide never to put a stumbling block or hindrance in the way of a brother." Now, some folks are more susceptible to the effects of this pandemic virus, and therefore they're more fearful. Instead of asserting my right to not wear a mask, well, I'll do what I can to ease the conscience of my brother or sister. I don't want to hinder them in any way. I look at it this way: wearing a mask, even though I don't like it at all, wearing a mask costs me nothing except a little humility, except a little forbearance for my brother or sister, except obedience to the law, except obedience to the law of God. And it may strengthen my relationship with my brother or sister, as well as enhancing my character in the society in which I'm supposed to shine like a light. So, how are we going to look up in this, what some think of as an oppressive culture? Well, we're going to think about Philippians 4 and verse 4. "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand." That word reasonableness in other versions is translated gentleness. It means to be yielding. It means to be kind, to be tolerant, to be gracious. And if there's anyone who ought to know what it means to be gracious, because grace has been shown to us It's God's people. The Lord is at hand. The Lord is near. If we really believe that, how far would we go in trying to show grace and reasonableness to everyone around us? Well, thanks for looking up with us today. God bless you.